Hello everybody, this is John. Welcome to the Ag Weather Outlook, December 19th, 2015. Over the last week, I mentioned that Iowa would be the spot where we keep our eye on for the heaviest precipitation. And you can see here we had estimates of as much as 2 inches or more of precipitation over the central part of the state that extended up into parts of Wisconsin as well. A bit lighter precipitation to the south. And then to the west, we had some snow. So if we look at the percent of normal precipitation over the last 7 days, you can very clearly see here these two areas, the axis of heavy precipitation in here, heavy snow back in the colder air here, and quite dry below normal precipitation over the eastern Corn Belt this week. Now, if we look at where the snow fell, the heaviest snowfall is indicated by the green dots and especially the blue dots. So from Colorado up towards the northeast, across parts of western Nebraska, South Dakota, and then up in the upper tier of the U.S., anywhere from 6 to 12 inches in those dots, those green dots, most areas in the 4 to 8 inch range. Now, if you want to see where snow is still on the ground, here we go. We can see a fairly decent snow cover right now, over 6 inches of snow in spots right there in that medium shade of blue. But everywhere else, very little snow at all over the central and eastern part of the region, the Corn Belt, and I really don't see much change because of the type of temperature pattern that we're in. And that type of pattern has been really very mild weather over the eastern U.S. and a bit cooler weather over the west. And we can see that in this jet stream. Now, I've showed this for quite some time now. Question is, how long will this pattern last? We have a dip in the jet stream, and that's indicated by that shade of blue over the western U.S. and a bit of a bulge north of the jet stream over the east. This is actually the total opposite of what we had last winter at this time. Now, it's not real pronounced. It's not a real strong amplified pattern, but there's just enough to keep temperatures mild over the eastern Corn Belt and temperatures cold over the west. So if we look at midweek here, we can see that pretty clear. Look at the temperatures over parts of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. We're looking at high temperatures near 60 degrees. At the same time, over the far west, we're seeing high temperatures only in the teens and 20s. So that gradient, when we see this gradient here of temperature, real strong gradient, that is usually where the track of storm systems will move, right along that gradient of temperature. So keep that in mind. We're going to look for that as we go through the winter. Now, this week looks quite mild. Like I said, these are temperatures this week. Central and eastern Corn Belt well above normal. Look at that medium shade of red there. That's 10 degrees and almost pushing 12 degrees above normal. So really, this winter so far, the weather story has been temperature more than precipitation in most areas. Now, I know we've had some unusually early snow in spots, but for the most part, we've been looking at mild temperatures as the big weather story. And this week, once again, I think that is going to be the weather story. There will be some lighter precipitation, some lighter snow, but for the most part, this week, I just don't see anything all that significant, either in rain or snow. Now, here's your snowfall forecast. It comes in a little bit of early burst of snow over the far west and then some later this week. But again, with the exception of northern Minnesota, really not all that much, just generally an inch or two here and there. I wanted to show you Christmas Day, the setup. It looks fairly quiet. We have high pressure extending right across the region. So for the most part, it looks like it's going to be a quiet Christmas Day this year. We do have a storm system over the southern part of the U.S., so it's going to be a very soggy Christmas over the south central and southeast U.S. A bit of snow over the mountainous regions, but for the Midwest, it looks like a fairly quiet Christmas Day. Front will be passing through these little dashed lines are the temperature lines, and mild over the eastern part of the Corn Belt, and again a bit cooler over the northern part. Now let's look out a little bit further here, 6 to 10 days. Look at this pattern. This goes through the 29th of December, and look at this pattern. Hardly any change, and that's why when we look at temperatures again, most of the Midwest, we're looking at temperatures above normal, with Indiana and Ohio, southeast well above normal. Look at that. We're looking at temperatures as much as 15 degrees above normal over the far eastern U.S. and the southeast U.S. So that temperature pattern really doesn't change a whole lot. And then here, look at this. We're rounding out the year. We're getting into early part of January. Again, not much sign of any big change in this overall pattern. Now, I don't know if this is models are just bringing it back towards climatology, so it could be a little bit milder than this. That's what models do. They tend to go back towards climatology as we get farther out. But nonetheless, it looks like right through early January, 15 days now, this pattern of a little bit below normal, a little bit cooler than normal over the far west, but most regions milder or the normal, a little bit warmer than normal over the eastern Corn Belt, particularly the far east and the eastern U.S. and the southeast U.S. Now here's week 2. It looks like the south central, southeast U.S. is going to remain quite active, and some of that's going to brush the eastern Corn Belt, but most of the area fairly quiet. So we're looking at generally a cold, far western part of the Corn Belt, but most of the region is going to be fairly mild, especially on Christmas Day. This week looks quite mild. Modest precipitation. I don't see anything real strong right now, one way or the other. And that pattern looks like it's going to continue for quite some time. Now, winter solstice is this Tuesday, shortest day of the year. I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, and I will be talking to you before the new year. Take care.